So, hello, this is Edna White, and I'm so glad you're with me today. Today, we're going to talk about generational trauma. Now, listen, you could be carrying generational trauma around within you, and you don't even know it. So, it could come out as in your behaviors, habits, life experiences. It may even giving you a heavy feeling like you're mad at something, but don't know what you're mad at, and you're just begging to be free. That could be generational trauma. So, what is generational trauma? And I know if you know me, I've always told you what it was, but I'm going to break it down a little bit more this time. The term generational trauma or ancestral trauma is used to describe trauma, wounding, and negative patterns that pass from generation to generation. Now, the mainstream definition is traumatic events that happen in past generations but still have a heavy effect on the current generations. The scientific study of generational trauma says that it continues to perpetuate generation after generation because of repeated behaviors that are passed on with each of us. But there's also a spiritual and energetic aspect to generational trauma that makes trauma something that you actually carry energetically and biologically. It's true that part of the generational trauma is carried forward because we keep modeling the behaviors of our parents and others around us, of their own parents. But what's less discussed is the underlying energy aspect of what's going on in ancestral trauma and why so many of us carry it around, even if we do try to correct the traumatic behaviors of the past. Now, when we talk about energy, we'll also talk about what most will say is a curse. Okay? And that comes from the religious sector. And they use the word because energy to them, outside of being the Holy Spirit, is not good. It's all curse. Or it's all bad. So they use that as a curse. So the bad energy that you're portraying may not be your own, is symbolically put on you like a curse. So that's where you get the word curse from. But it really is energy transferred from generation to generation. So here's a key energy issue going on with the ancestral trauma. A more spiritual definition is what it is. Ancestral trauma pertains to past painful experiences, wounds that have been programmed into the first chakra and passed to future generations. Now I know you're just saying chakra. Oh Lord, that and this is where we get it from, the voodoo thing, right? But in each of us, we have areas which are roots. And when I say the first chakra, because that's another lesson altogether, we're going to talk about this though. The first chakra is traumatized and it's programmed there. So what's the first chakra? And if you don't remember anything else about chakras, remember that this first chakra is a root chakra. It's the base of the system of the first to go online when your fetus is in your womb, okay? A chakra is an energy center of the body. They serve as a crucial energy center that circulates around, in, and out the body. This root chakra is the foundation of the system, and it's where you have programmed sense of group or family or tribe. That's why ancestral trauma is here. Ancestral trauma is encoded in the first root chakra, with much like diseases are encoded biologically and can be passed from one generation to the next generation. You can literally think of like a computer chip, right? That programs a computer. Chakras have energy chips that do much of the same thing. This is the one reason why ancestral trauma can be so hard to heal and deal with, especially if we heal only through the mind or by changing behaviors. If we don't acknowledge that there is a root energy, we will never get to the healing that we need of the generational trauma. So I think it's time that you start accepting that we are made of energy, and those things centralized in our bodies are the energy that stores all of the things that make us who we are today. So let's go even deeper. The main chips of the ancestral trauma are found in the first chakra because this is the foundation of the whole system. All other chakras above form are based on this information. So there is two additional chakras that are heavily affected by ancestral traumas and energy chips in the root chakra. Remember, if you've ever spoken with me about chakras, I always said I had heavy damage in my root chakra, right? So that is another area that is really important. So the second and third chakras is what we're going to discuss now. The second chakra is our sexual chakra, where also the place where we begin to bond with others. Okay, you thought I was going to say something else, right? Nope. Since it's the closest to the first chakra, it's heavily influenced by it. So any ancestral trauma in this first chakra will influence the development of the second chakra. This means we could have issues bonding with others in a healthy way. The third chakra. This is a solar plexus, and it's also a place of personal power and will, but also where you have a sense of identity. It's where your self-image and your self-esteem are located. It's how you see yourself in the world. That self-image is coming from this chakra. But when we have ancestral trauma, it'll affect how we see ourselves in the world and how we believe things about ourselves. So why is ancestral trauma such a problem? Okay, so here we go. Personal pain. Ancestral trauma causes a lot of pain in our personal lives because we carry all this unhealed stuff and keep playing it out in our lives without realizing it's coming from the lineage. And what happens most of the time, we're moving around in life and letting life move us, but we don't take the time to figure out what that pain is and where is it coming from, right? The second thing is collective energy. Ancestral trauma gets embedded in our collective energy and it doesn't go away. It could even get even bigger. For example, the people who survived the Holocaust and then had children, that trauma didn't just get passed on energetically to the children and grandchildren. It also formed as a collective trauma of energy that has affected the entire nation and large groups of people. Black people going through slavery, the same instance. Okay? So, here's the bigger picture. How do we spot it in ourselves? And I think this is really important. I need you to know this. How do I spot it in myself? Sometimes we may not even know we've got ancestral trauma in ourselves because we might not know how much or what much about our family, like myself. Might not know all the history about our families. We might not be aware of any of the ancestral things that ever went on because we never talked about history, lineage. We never shared that. The families before never shared that, and we never asked. So here are the 4 top ways to spot this in yourself. You ready? 1, repeating issues. This one is easy. If you see yourself repeating the same patterns and behaviors of your parents or the people that raised you, more or less generally ancestral traumas. For example, if you're the child of an alcoholic, and we know alcohol is a symptom, it's not an issue, okay? It's a symptom of the pain that's under. Then you become one too. It's clear that ancestral trauma is there and that it's passed down, and that alcohol is used to cover it up or mask it up. So we learn the behavior of masking pain with alcohol. Even in my own life, I've noticed that I had heart blocks, and we've talked about this before, as a major generational issue around my father and my mom. Sexual trauma also on both, my father and my mom's lines of lineage. I didn't learn till just recently about some generational traumas on my father's side regarding childhood sexual trauma. So you learn these things, but you don't want to repeat them, especially in an offense like that. If you are conscious and you are aware, you learn not to do those things. Okay? 2, difficulty relating. Remember how the second chakra is affected by the ancestral trauma, and that's the chakra of bonding and relating? If you have issues with relationships, not just romantic, then you probably have ancestral trauma to heal. It's in every relationship. You have to notice it. Start noticing. 3, awareness of the past. If you know the past generational issues in your family, that's another great way of knowing what you have inherited energetically. Because I just said it. All of this is energetic. You may act like an alcoholic. You don't know why you have those tendencies. You feel like that. And lo and behold, you have some traits that are going on that you didn't get permission to have. So do a little review. Ask questions and see the patterns you can find in your family lines. Ask. Some may not want to tell you, but ask. And then look and seek. 4, look into your childhood, especially and specifically how you were parented. Our parents repeat what their parents did, and so forth. We tend to mirror behavior that we're taught in childhood. The patterns you find in your childhood with how you were raised will give you indications of ancestral trauma that you have. Remember, this is all about you, not about anybody else. We're trying to correct us. So, now we're to the great part. How do we clear this? How do we clear these ancestral traumas? And it's it's easier than we kind of thought, So, the number one thing to do is become aware. Conscious realization is everything. If you're going to sit here and placate and pretend and joke around and ignore, you're not going to have conscious realization, and you're not going to heal that energetic trauma, no matter what you do, no matter where you go. If you're going to religion to do that, it's not going to go anywhere because you're not dealing with it. You're not realizing it. You're not acknowledging it. Yes, it did happen. Yes, this was the way it is. And just deal with it the way it is. And stop ignoring it. Stop pushing it under the rug. When you become conscious of ancestral trauma, it starts to heal almost immediately because the light of awareness is itself in a healing process. Journal, write down the patterns and painful experiences that have repeated in your life and in the family and in the lineage. Become aware of as many details as you can about ancestral trauma. 2, clearing ceremonies. You do this at night. And I think it's more, I want to say, symbolic than anything. You light a candle, you listen to music that has a drum or some kind of bowl sensation, shamanic music, and you invoke your spirit guides of the higher order. So, that means calling on the higher gods of yourself, the higher beings, higher than you, that really know the answers. So you specifically want to call on specific type of spirit to guide, to help you with the clearing. So if you know where it comes from, let's just say, I know where mine comes from. May say my dad's name, and the ancestors of. I elevate you to help me clear, the ancestral trauma in my mother and my father's line. So, I know it sounds like a little woohoo, but it's similar to asking God, who is the higher power, to elevate me to see clearly this ancestral energy. And but you could say it as a powerful prayer. I lovingly call on my ancestors of the light to help me clear my ancestral trauma in my mother and my father's line in all directions of time. And so it is. Now that doesn't sound like really woohoo, right? I like to put my hands on my lower belly over the first and second chakra area to direct more energy to that area, right? Especially the first time you do it, so that you're attacking the programming area, okay? I repeat the prayer many times during the ceremony. I then finish it off with another mantra and a visualization exercise. I'll send the light down my ancestral line or lineage, and I visualize people standing in line that are, I symbolize as my family members. And I see the light touch each one of them and glow them up. And as they glow up, they're released from each of those traumas. So, as far back as you could probably go, let the light go down that line, as far as back as you could possibly go. But you have to use the visualization. I got it, I think. Okay, so, and then use a mantra. I send light into my father line. I send light into my mother line. And you let the light just go. No matter how many lines if it's 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, let it go. And see it light each one up at the end. And their souls are lifted as powder or ashes into the air. Then you say, it is done. A simple ceremony, something very simple, not too woo-hoo-ish, I hope, but it actually works. Visualization and mantras, affirmations, and prayers all work to help you get to the next point in your life, okay? So, we're talking still on point number 3, step number 3, chakra balancing. Now that you've cleared it, it's time to recalibrate your chakras so that they resonate with a healthier energy. Especially work on the first chakra, which I told you is where everything starts in the programming, because that is the foundation of all trauma. Always put your hand there, invite the energy in. Always do that. To finish off your chakra work, you can get a free guide from me, or you can use the meditation that I always use in the group, which is on my YouTube channel. So that helps with the chakra as well, because it does have some drums and shamanic music in it. So that'll be great for you. All right, we're getting down close now. So now, here is your homework, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, people all over, Facebook friends, internet BFFs. Now that you understand the trauma that ancestral trauma takes in your life, take a moment to complete these tasks. Okay? You ready? And I'll send them to you so that you can work them out all on your own. You can go to my the bottom of this video in YouTube and request the generational trauma PDF, and I'll send this to you. Okay, you ready? Number one, start thinking about the patterns and painful experiences that have repeated itself in your life. Write them down. Number two, think down the line, what experiences or behaviors have your parents experienced? Number three, which of your parents' behaviors do you mirror? Number four, as you continue to become aware of your ancestral trauma, start to notice any changes that occur in yourself. Keep jotting them down each time you notice a change in behavior. 5. Write down any helpful mantras you can repeat during your clearing ceremony. So now that you understand more about your generational trauma, you can begin exploring whether you have any and where it came from. Remember, this isn't to be taken lightly, so don't put too much pressure on yourself to overcome these behaviors and habits straight away. Don't do it. It could span over multiple generations after all. Listen, I learned that I want to say the hard way, because when you think you're finished healing, you're not. Keep healing. Your things will be revealed to you, especially if you want to do the work to make things working for your generation and the next. This is Edna White, and I'm so glad you're with me today. Thanks for watching. Oh, and remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell on the top to never miss an episode. Talk to you real soon.